What Trump really destroyed. The dark truth behind USAID. So I wasn't planning on watching this video. One, it's like USAID. I mean, that was like 2 months ago now. It's obviously important, but a little old news. Two, I don't want to turn this into a Shoe on Head exclusive reaction channel, even though my reactions to her videos are the videos that get me the most views. I don't want to do that. So the plan was to skip this one. But then I was browsing Twitter and I saw this thread, and it kind of convinced me to check out the video. You could not pay me to watch this. You can tell a lot about a person by how they view Shu. She's like a necessary evil to stop teenage boys from getting fully sucked into the alt-right pipeline. I'm a leftist, but I only criticize Democrats. Hate her. That's one of the criticisms I have on Shoe on Head. You know, she calls herself a socialist and whatnot. And even though the Republican Party today is completely and utterly batshit, she devotes a lot of her time complaining about the Democrats and like wokeness, which in my opinion is just... Even if wokeness was a problem, we've got a million things to worry about before I'm ever being remotely concerned about, you know, Democrats and liberals and progressives overcorrecting on certain things. I talk about liberal, progressive, even leftist overcorrections from time to time. And I do complain about liberals and Democrats, but the modern conservative movement is a million times worse than those issues. When tens of thousands of Americans aren't dying from lack of healthcare access per year, maybe then we can talk about, I don't know, pronouns in your Twitter bio, which again is just such dumb shit to concern oneself over. So yes, if I had my way, and I don't know, I would complain about wokeness less than Shoe on Head would, assuming she's a leftist, assuming she's a socialist. She does describe herself as socially centrist or whatever. But anyway, Shoe on Head is a secret conservative and always has been. See, I've watched a number of Shoe on Head videos at this point, and I don't know. I don't see secret conservative. There's a lot in her commentary that I like as a leftist, as a progressive, as a socialist, a democratic socialist. There's some things I don't like. Plenty I disagree with her on, especially on a lot of these kind of social issues and again, just what we're choosing to talk about. But overall, I'm positive on Shoe on Head. I'm sort of waiting for the shoe to drop, no pun intended. Like something's going to come out to make me go, oh, this is why the left seems to hate her and progressives seem to hate her. Again, I always say like maybe in her older content, I could definitely see that being in there. But in the most recent like 5 or 6 videos of her that I've seen, I haven't seen any like major red flags where I'm like, okay, this person is clearly, you know, not a good person or whatever. Again, some stuff we disagree on, nothing to make me go secret conservative and always has been. But like I said, I saw these comments and I thought, okay, maybe this will be the one that tells me more about who this person is. I don't know, which is why I'm kind of curious to check it out. You didn't know USAID was training paramilitaries in Guatemala how to electrocute communists. But she's right, USAID, it was for funding opposition and destabilizing other governments. But just look at her eyeliner, bro. If you listen to Joe Rogan, what she says is basically the diet version of what you should already know. What? She was genuinely funny, says Second Amendment enjoyer, MAGA hat wearer, future farmer, libertarian, red flag, anti-woke gamer, Christ is king. Like, these are the people who seem to like Shoe on Head. It's the most bizarre thing to me. Every video, she's like, I am a socialist. I am a socialist. I want fucking universal healthcare. And then these are her viewers. These are the people who go from her videos to my reactions and talk about how stupid I am. When, like, 75% of our opinions overlap, especially on these economic issues. Socially, there's some distinction, but economically, yeah. I don't understand why anyone watched her. She's unbearable. Stupid bitch gonna do stupid shit. What's new? I could have sworn she had more anti-Trump videos back in the day. Checked out her channel for the first time in years, and it's all own the libs / manosphere content. 263 likes. Again, there's some own the libs stuff. A lot of it is punching from the left. I will say that. In one of my more recent videos, I was like watching leftists react to Shoe on Head's commentary, and they were, in my opinion, misinterpreting what she was saying. She was punching towards liberals from the left on a lot of her commentary. She blocked me years ago for civilly asking her to stop pushing a narrative that actually made it easier for PDF files to get kids. Shocker that she's still on the same old bullshit. So this is what I'm like, Okay, shocker that she's still on the same old bullshit. What does that mean? Did this person watch the video and see something as a liberal, as a progressive or whatever that made you go, wow, what a horrible person? That's what I'm curious about. That's what a lot of these comments are. I don't want to go through every comment, but it seems like, liberals going like, how dare she say this or that? So I'm curious what she's saying here. I think people forget anyone can be conservative. What? She talks about how USAID was used as a tool for US imperialism as if that's a bad thing. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't see this comment. So I'm going to stop reading these comments and just kind of continue with my intro, which maybe that kind of spoiled it, but here we go. What I was worried about, and what I'm still worried about, because I don't know, Shoe on Head is the ultimate wild card. I will say that. What I'm concerned about was, is this video going to be like USAID is actually the most wokest thing ever, and it was only used for funding, trans surgeries on minors in South American countries or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? All the bullshit that Republicans and conservatives talk about in regard to USAID, right? Is that what this video is going to be about? What is my concern? Or maybe per what that comment was talking about, is this going to be what actual progressives, not really progressives, but leftists talk about when they talk about USAID? Meaning it as a tool of, like that comment said, U.S. imperialism. It is an organization operating on the guise of trying to help people, providing aid, but really being used to destabilize governments, etc., etc. Build American soft power around the world, in the third world, the global south. When I see leftists complain about USAID, that is what they're talking about. And my opinion on USAID is roughly in that camp. In my purview, what Trump and Elon did to USAID, I think, was a net negative. I will say that. Just based on my understanding of what they did overall, there was a lot that they did which helped some people. Now, was it because of the best intentions? No. U.S. imperialism, etc., etc. What I would rather have, kept it, but with actual leftist or progressive valued intentions. Wanting it to be a way to help the global south, uplift people, be the rising tide that lifts all boats, that is what leftist ideology is about, that if we help each other, it's beneficial for all of us. I would have kept it, used the systems and lines that are already in place to just make it better. And again, the reason Trump and Elon dismantled it was not because it was an arm of U.S. imperialism or an arm of U.S. soft power. No, that's not why they got rid of it. They got rid of it because to them, one, woke, I guess, but two, and I mean this sincerely, it did genuinely help people in the global south. Regardless of how it always ended up, regardless of its, under the surface intentions, outwardly, this was meant to be a kindness, a nice thing the United States did for people in need. People like Elon and Trump don't like to do those kind things to other people, for other people. They'll make arguments about how helping them actually hurts them somehow. It's all bullshit. The truth is, they just don't want to help people. I'm not saying every conservative thinks that way, but certainly Elon does, certainly Trump does, certainly the people in their sphere, like your Stephen Millers, certainly do. And of course, in order to sell it to the conservative base, they have to wrap it in. Actually, everything it was doing was woke. LGBT, trans, whatever. They're wrapping it in a veneer of, you want this to go away because it's woke. Because they can't just be like, look, we just don't want to use our money to help people. We just don't want to use our money to help people. That doesn't look good. That won't sell. Even to conservatives, even to conservative voters, if that's what they said outright, the real intention, which was, we just don't want to help people, that really would even fly with the conservative base, at least many of them. Many of them would go, that's super based. Of course, many would go, that's extremely based. Let's not help people. It's a good thing to not help people. Of course, many would say that. Not all would say that. But that remaining percentage would certainly get fired up at USAID was doing woke shit. So my stance, was it an arm of US imperialism? Yes. Was it US soft power? Yes. Was it for the best intentions? No. Do I think it did some good? Yes. Was it a net positive? I'm not 100% sure on, and a leftist could probably explain to me why it wasn't. Maybe I'm totally off base, but I think it was a net positive. I will say I'm a little more kinder to it than Some leftists, Hakeem, who's like, a very much a communist, made a video recently called USAID is a terrorist organization. So that is how some on the left are interpreting, USAID's role. And I'm not even saying an argument couldn't be made, frankly, from a leftist perspective. I full disclosure, I have not seen this video, so I don't know for sure what's in it. It's certainly inflammatory. But yes, I think we should do these things altruistically. We, as the richest, most powerful country ever, should be doing things, using our wealth, using our power to help other countries, provide aid, disaster relief, provide medicine, help build infrastructure, help build schools. We should be doing these things. They would, selfishly, it would help us as well. If the world was better for everyone, the world would be better for everyone. You have things like the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. That's a little bit like, what are their intentions there too? Is that to build their soft power? Is that a form of their own imperialism? I don't know. I don't want to get into it. That's not what this video is about. But yes, look, the only reason we get to be how we are, the lives we get to live, is due to exploiting them. The least we can do is redistribute some of the wealth we're stealing from them back to them. I don't know. We could also stop exploiting them. That would be a good start as well. Anyway, I am curious where Shoe Head is going to go with this. Is this going to be her... Whoa, what the fuck? Look at that. Did you guys know that could do that? How did I do that? Nope, that's OBS. No clue. Is this going to be her coming out and saying USAID was doing trans or something, and that's the dark truth behind USAID? Is it going to be actually this was, cynically designed to spread U.S. imperial efforts and soft power and such? Regardless, let's get into it. I will not forget to turn the playback speed up this time. The dark truth behind USAID. Let's do it.
Donald Trump, along with Elon Musk, have created a new government agency called Doge. And what I originally thought was just an older sibling giving a younger sibling an unplugged video game controller actually turned into a real thing. And their first order of business was dismantling USAID, an innocent government program that helped poor people all around the world. Or was it? Hello, and welcome back to the Shoe Head channel. I am Shoe Head, and I am not real. I am a figment of your imagination. You have been in a coma since 2012. Wake up. Wake up. Today we will be talking about the dark, seedy underbelly of USAID. This is a topic I've been interested in for a very long time now. And now that
some Zoomers and Gen Alpha are like, what? I was 2 in 2012. What do you mean I've been in a coma? I'm gonna wake up in diapers?
Recently, USAID has been in the news. I figured it is a perfect time to finally talk about it. All the mainstream liberal coverage I've seen of this has basically been late-night talk show hosts crying fake tears about it being dismantled, and all the mainstream Republican coverage has just been about all the woke shit USAID was apparently funding. But I promise you, it is more than that. A lot more. If you're not a very political person and you only come...
I will say this, I don't know if, I follow liberal media, I follow leftist media, I follow conservative media. I wouldn't say that the liberals who are upset with USAID are crying fake tears over it. I think that they genuinely think it was what it says on the tin, so to speak. Something that was just kind of good, and now it's being destroyed for no good reason. Liberals will never, see it as an arm of American imperialism, American soft power. That's not really what they think about. It's not how they see the world, really, liberals. Or conservatives, for that matter. It's a very leftist mindset. But I will say from the liberals who I've seen, cry about USAID, it's pretty genuine, I would say. Again, as a leftist, I have a different opinion on USAID than the liberals probably would. But I don't think it's a cynical, just an anti-Trump thing. And again, as a leftist, I don't like their intentions behind removing USAID. They see it the same way the liberals see it, except the liberals thought that helping others is good. The conservatives think that helping others is not good. Again, if Trump was like, this is an arm of American imperialism, okay, well, that would be one thing. No. Their argument for dismantling it was gay and woke. Not a good argument.
Come here to consume the Reddit gender war slop. You should still stick around for this because this gets juicy. And remember, even if you're not interested in politics, politics is interested in you. And trust me, I understand why some people aren't interested in politics.
No, she's not, bro. She's not. She ghosted me, bro.
It's confusing, it's stressful, it's a lot to keep up with. I feel like 500 things happen every single day. But thankfully, I have a tool to help with that. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this video is sponsored by USAID. Just kidding, this video is sponsored by Ground News. Let's quickly give them a shout out and then we will jump back into this deep dive.
Sorry. Unethical reacts. Also, I said that in one of my more recent shoe and head videos, and I got some comments going like, well, you're calling Shoe on Head doing an ad unethical? What do you mean it's unethical? No, I'm saying I'm being unethical by skipping her ad.
Oh, and thank you, the viewer, for not skipping the ad. Right. Now let's get...
She got me again! Every time!
Back to this USAID deep dive, shall we? So, Donald Trump and Elon Musk created the Department of Government Efficiency, aka Doge. Get it? Like the Reddit meme from 2012? Epic bacon, my fellow memers. Honestly, who am I to talk about dead memes? My username is Shoe on Head. So...
It's so lame. Everything Elon touches is so lame. God.
Doge's supposed goal seems to be cutting useless spending the government is making us pay taxes on. Now, I have very mixed feelings about taxes. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. Taxation is theft! The tree of liberty will be refreshed with the blood of tyrants! My opinion has always been, if we are going to pay taxes in this country, could they at least go to things that actually help people, like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, child tax credits, firefighters, fixing our bridges and roads, castrating pedophiles, government-funded girlfriends, things like that. And yes, we should be auditing the government. I think that's a good thing.
Yes! To all of that! Especially the girlfriend's one, okay? Again, politics. Call me. Like, I hear that, and like... I hear that, and I'm just like, okay, regardless of the occasional socially reactionary take, her right-wing audience of that guy with the MAGA hat we saw on Twitter, hearing that is a good thing, is a net positive, I think. Again, I say this in my other videos talking about Shoe, but like, my bar is pretty low. I think it's pretty low to where I need to just hear that, and it's like, okay, good enough for me. Maybe we have some ground to make up on social issues, but that's pretty good. That's a very good start. That's a better outlook, at least on like economic issues, than 65% of Americans. Obviously, every conservative and most liberals aren't in favor of that kind of shit too. A lot of liberals aren't going to vote for progressive politicians who will support things like that. So to hear that coming out of someone's mouth to a vast audience, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. Oh, so what was the last thing she said? Hang on.
Pedophiles, government-funded girlfriends, things like that. And yes, we should be auditing the government. I think that's a good thing. Frankly,
I mean, look, this is the misconception with Doge, okay? We have a lot of these systems in place already. We've had the Government Accountability Office for over a century, an independent, nonpartisan government agency within the legislative branch that provides auditing, evaluative, and investigative services for the United States Congress. It is the supreme audit institution of the federal government of the United States. The guy who's running it has been doing it since Bush. It is the congressional watchdog. Doge is completely pointless and stupid. If you think its mission is to do anything but cut things that fucking these right-wing lunatics like Elon Musk personally don't like, I have a bridge to sell you. They're claiming everything going on is fucking fraud. They've not made a single arrest. It's nonsense. It's all lies from these people. Congress has oversight committees. There are inspectors general. The executive branch has the Office of Management and Budgets. States, cities, local governments also have these equivalents. There are many layers of accountability in our government. The idea that Doge is finding genuine like fraud and shit is nonsense. These people do not have good intentions. They do not have your best interests in mind.
I don't care who does it as long as they do it well. Good things are good, bad things are bad. I'm anti-bad things, pro-good things. Those are my politics. And hating libertarians. Just kidding, I love libertarians. I get along great with them. As long as we don't talk about child labor. Anyway, Doge got straight to work, firing
or age of consent laws.
Government workers and basically hiring my Twitter mutuals. What was once a theater kid occupied government is now a right-wing schizo poster occupied government. No, I am not joking. So this...
Yes! 100%. She just says that this government is full of right-wing schizo shit posters. She's saying that, but is a secret conservative to like half of Twitter? I don't know, man. I just don't see it. Again, I do not love everything she has ever said. I disagree with her on a good amount of stuff. Just like I disagree with almost everyone on a good amount of stuff. The only person I agree with on everything is Sam Cedar. Even like Hassan, who I watch a lot more than anyone else, I disagree with Hassan on a lot of shit. I don't know.
This is a 19-year-old high school graduate who has used the unfortunate
Bro, why is this in like 1p? Was this the best clip we could find, Shu?
nickname Big Balls online, so that would be one way that we could refer to him. He is now working at Musk's behest inside Doge.
If you had told me 10 years ago that Donald Trump and Elon Musk would hire some Zoomer named Big Balls to help audit the government, I'd believe it. Like, yeah, that checks out. They have no relevant experience. Most of them aren't old enough to rent a car. They're not even old enough to rent a car. They're in their 20s. We sent 18-year-olds to go die in the wars you cheerlead on, you evil hag. Why are they so focused on the ages of these people when our government is basically a retirement home? But honestly, I don't blame Hillary Clinton. If I were her, I also wouldn't want 22-year-olds in the government. Months before dismantling the Department of Education, or apparently Sesame Street, Doge's first order of business was dismantling USAID.
Without providing any proof, Elon said USAID is a criminal organization. Oh yeah, they're an international crime syndicate hell-bent on helping people.
Pretty f***ed up, huh? Taking money away from an aid program that helps poor people all around the world.
Yes, Elon is 1,000,000% wrong here, okay? It's not a criminal organization in this way that Elon's thinking it is. But, again, Colbert and the libs, there's a piece missing there too, right? The imperialism aspect to it.
World. Except USAID was not exactly that. In fact, it doesn't even f***ing stand for aid. It stands for United States Agency for International Development.
Well, I mean, like, backronyms exist. This happens all over the place in, like, the sciences and, like, even government and stuff, where they have, like, backronyms. Yes, the aid, it's not U.S. space lowercase aid, right? But it's still an intentional, signal that this is U.S. aid. Like, that is an intentional thing. Like, the Patriot Act wasn't, like, the word patriot necessarily. The Patriot Act was an acronym that was designed to, fit into the word patriot. Same with USAID. I don't know if bacronym's the right term, but like, it happens all the time in the government and sciences and stuff. This is the least of the problems we're dealing with here.
Has all to do with aid. But honestly, I don't blame you for thinking it does. After all, they do make the word aid a different color in the logo. Those sneaky bastards. Although it said USAID provides 42% of global aid,
Whatever.
the
I made
truth
my
is
point.
most of those funds are just spent paying US contractors and secretly conducting regime change all around the world. In fact, 80% of all USAID funding goes to just 75 organizations, while only 6% of that goes to aid. And by auditing USAID, Doge exposed the true...
I don't know if that's the most accurate interpretation of that. Yes, it goes to contractors who then, generally do stuff. Again, not an expert on this. Please don't get me wrong. I am not an expert. I haven't audited every single one of these contractors. I've done a little bit of research, over time or whatever. But yes, in theory, these contractors would then, do stuff with that money that the government doesn't have the infrastructure to do. It's like we use taxpayer funding to pay a contractor to build roads. We use taxpayer funds to contract private companies to build the roads. Again, leftists, socialists might have a lot to say about these kinds of things. Not what we're talking about here. I'm just saying this is just how it works right now. And that's how it kind of worked with USAID as well. If you're going to build a road in like Uganda or something, you're not going to send United States federal government employees to go do that, right? You're going to hire a contractor who works with companies in Africa who then will liaison and blah, 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 and multi-steps, and then the road will get built by workers in Uganda. So not the most charitable interpretation from Shu here. Again, there are issues with that. Again, from a leftist perspective, there are issues with that. Don't get me wrong. But the idea that it just, I don't know, not the most accurate from Shoe on Head here, I would say. Feel free to correct the record in the comments.
Real puppet masters behind the secret cabal of evil masterminds funding the woke ideology spreading all around the globe. You. Yes, it was you, American taxpayer. Turns out the deep state was the friends we made along the way. And yes, it's true, we are spending billions of dollars in our tax money to fund things like teaching Sri Lankan journalists how to avoid binary gendered language, combating disinformation in Kazakhstan, promoting inclusion in Vietnam, millions to an Armenian LGBT group, millions to rebuild the Cuban media ecosystem, millions for LGBT causes in the Western Balkans.
Well, this is what I was afraid the video would be. Looks like maybe this is what the video will be. Complaining that US aid was spent on woke shit. One, like, I approve. I want my taxpayer funds to go to some of this stuff. Like, millions for LGBT causes in the Western Balkans. I want my taxpayer dollars to go to this, yes. Millions for LGBT activism in Uganda. Which, didn't I just say Uganda? Funny coincidence. I want them to build roads in Uganda and pay for LGBT activism in Uganda, because that's a place where LGBTQ people are put to death for their gender identity, for their sexuality. I don't know. I don't know if specifically Uganda, you are literally put to death for being gay. I know it's illegal and, treated harshly. I don't know if you get the death penalty. I'm trying to be woke here, okay? But you all get what I mean. And yeah, I don't think gay people in Uganda, trans people in Uganda, queer people in Uganda should be treated that way. Like, using money to support queer people in these places, like, yeah, sure, I'm fine with that personally. Like, people see millions, it's like such an insignificant amount. Like, we spend like $1.5 trillion on our military, okay? You want to cut government spending? Let's start there. Millions for atheism in Nepal, I approve. Like 75% of this stuff just seems like net positive things, by the way, that she was apparently complaining about that we're spending on. Again, she might be like, well, we should be spending that money here in the US. And it's like, yeah, fine. We have enough money to do both. We could give Americans healthcare and provide support for queer people in, places where they are actively being harmed. And I will say, I doubt this is just like spreading pro-LGBTQ propaganda. You know what I mean? Like, that I'm sort of half-jokingly talking about. All this stuff has context that Shoe on Head and right-wingers just gleefully leave out. Let's ask the anti-woke oracle. Was USAID spending millions for LGBTQ plus activism in Uganda? Almost forgot. Concise answer. Yes, USAID. Okay, well. Okay. Elaborate. The claim that USA was spending millions of LGBTQ plus activism as part of a broader list of measures deemed wasteful, blah, 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 blah. These funds were reportedly aimed at supporting human rights defenders and organizations providing emergency assistance to Uganda's LGBTQ plus community, particularly in the wake of the Anti-Homosexuality Act of 2023. The AHA imposed life imprisonment for same-sex relations and severe penalties for related activities, leading to increased violence, evictions, and discrimination against LGBTQ plus individuals. USAID's efforts included support for access to HIV/AIDS treatment, legal representation, and safe shelters. These are good things to do, in my opinion, okay? Again, if you are desperate for $5 million in the United States discretionary spending, let's take it out of the $1.5 trillion we spend on our military first, okay? Critics of the funding, as seen in Twitter posts, claimed it incentivized activism or was frivolous, while supporters, including USAID officials and Democratic lawmakers, argued it was critical for protecting marginalized groups in a country with harsh anti-LGBTQ plus laws. So they were providing necessary medical treatment, legal representation, and safe shelters to gay people who are facing life imprisonment and shit like that. Like, no, if Shoe on Head is saying this is a ridiculous thing to spend our money on, I disagree with Shoe on Head here. If she would come out and say, and maybe this is what she's saying, that this is a bad thing, then we very clearly have different opinions on, like, how to make the world a better place, whether we should or shouldn't help people. I don't know, man. And you can do that with all of these things, okay? Let's finish this.
Millions for LGBT activism in Uganda, millions for atheism in Nepal, millions for male circumcision.
Okay, not based. This is bad. We should not be spending our money on this, okay?
Around the world, and $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala.
Based.
And many other things that were so ridiculous I had to double check to make sure I was.
God, ridiculous? Did you do your research on what these actually are, what these entailed? Like, LGBTQ plus activism in Uganda, like, yeah, okay, it sounds like it's woke 21-year-old white girls handing out pamphlets on why you should be gay. I can see every conservative thinking that's what it is, but that's not what it is. That's not what any of those things are. It's not ridiculous. These weren't frivolous, they weren't random. I wouldn't even argue that providing legal representation, safe shelters, and HIV and AIDS medication to persecuted LGBTQ plus people in Uganda is like horrific US imperialism from a leftist perspective. That's what I, as a socialist in the richest country in the world, would want to do in the third world. Help people who need, marginalized people who need help, especially when we have the money to do it, because we have that money. That money could go to those people. Again, let's chip away at the US military budget first. Yeah, no. Don't like this. Don't like this perspective from Shu. This is the reactionary shit that people complain about with Shu, that I complain about with Shu. And I don't know if she were to do the research, if she would see the truth behind this expenditure, would her opinion change? Because it does scream to me very surface level research from her in this scenario. Or would she still go, no, we shouldn't do that? Like if she, again, if your opinion is, let's give Americans healthcare first, there's an argument to be made there, I guess. But let's say we all have healthcare now. Let's say America is a perfect socialist utopia, and then we have money left over. Can some of it go to providing HIV and AIDS treatment and shelters and legal representation to people facing life fucking imprisonment for being gay in other countries? Can we do it then? If so, let's do it now, because we have the money to do both. But saying it's ridiculous or whatever the fuck she just said, no. That's lame. That sucks. Don't like it.
Wasn't being trolled. Taxpayer-funded sex changes in Guatemala? We don't even do that here. Now, you might be saying, Shu, this seems like some
Okay, well, we should.
stupid anti-woke shit. And yeah, kind of. You got me. But
Okay. What? I'm short-circuiting. I literally don't know how to interpret this chick, man. So she's admitting this is just dumb anti-woke shit?
I ask you, young naive liberal, why the f*** was John Bolton once the head of USAID? John Bolton, for those of you who are unaware, is an infamous neocon.
I mean, he was the assistant administrator for USAID for program and policy coordination from August 1982 to December 1983, of course, during the Ronald Reagan administration. So yeah, of course, Shu, Reagan is gonna appoint the worst person possible to assist in this organization. Like, what are you talking about? The worst person put the other worst person in charge of something? Yeah, that's what Republicans do, Shu. Again, plenty of criticisms we could have on USAID. Plenty from a genuine leftist perspective. Just because John Bolton was head of it under the Reagan admin, not a good argument, in my opinion.
Hack. He's literally criticized Trump for not being enough of a warmonger. Neocon hacks, for those same few of you who are unaware, are the people in our government responsible for meddling with other countries all around the world and getting us into wars for basically funsies. The people who suck the teat of Raytheon, Boeing, etc. The military-industrial complex's favorite Discord kittens. These guys come in shades of red and blue. So why was John Bolton, a red guy, in charge of the same program, USAID,
Because Ronald Reagan was president, Shu. Did you not check when he was the head of USAID? Like, I'm confused. I'm confused. It does feel like a lot of stuff Shu on head is just, like, not getting wrong, but, like, misinterpreting or not doing the proper amount of research on? I don't know.
that is sending American taxpayer money to foreign countries to have things like trans pride parades. The truth is, the USAID thing goes a lot deeper than what a lot of Republican commentators are saying. It wasn't just a bunch of libtards in government wasting our money on stupid woke things. No, there's way more than that. You see, it's current year and we can't just do old-fashioned imperialism anymore. The people don't like that. It's a new era, so we have to dress it up.
Wasn't wasting our money on stupid woke things. God. This reactionary shit, I don't like. I don't like this. This is worth critiquing from, you know, a leftist, liberal, progressive perspective.
Up in glitter. and rainbows. To put it bluntly, USAID is nothing but another form of taxpayer-funded regime change, wearing an innocent mask of aid. Shut up, Shu! You dumb bimbo populist! You reactionary shitlord! You cry, tears running down your fat, retarded face.
It's like the minute I call her a reactionary, she's calling out people calling her a reactionary. She's always one step ahead of us.
The United States is just giving foreign countries billions of dollars out of the kindness of their hearts. Oh yeah? I have a lovely bridge on sale down the road. Would you like to buy it? Listen, despite all its faults...
Didn't I just make that analogy too? I swear I did not pre-watch this. Yeah, like I said, liberals have that perspective that like, oh, it's just from the kindness of our heart. Leftists, I tend to hear from leftists, the spectrum is people kind of like me, who are like, yes, it was an arm for US soft power, imperialism, but it did do some good stuff, you know, on the side. And then there are other leftists who are like Hakeem, who are like, this was an evil, horrific place. A terrorist organization is what Hakeem called it. That's the other kind of perspective I see from the left.
Faults. I love America, and I love the American people. But if you believe the corrupt, greedy bureaucrats running the deep...
Another place where Shu and Head will, and I will frankly disagree on.
...state of this country do anything out of the kindness of their hearts, you are a sweet, innocent angel. And you need to be protected at all costs. I especially side-eye any leftist who has the nerve to run defense for USAID, especially those who call themselves socialists or commies, considering the fact that USAID was basically originally created to destroy communist countries all around the world. Established in 1961 by President John F. Kennedy under the noble guise of aiding developing nations, USAID was, in many respects, an instrument during the Cold War to...
Again, I don't know if I've seen many leftists and socialists, like, fully go out to bat for USAID. I mean, I'm the most charitable brand of leftist, and there are many who are in my similar camp, which is, like I just said, imperialism, yes, soft power, yes. It did do some good things. It just did.
Counter Soviet influence and keep the Third World from crafting its own socioeconomic model. A year after President John Kennedy created USAID in 1961, he told its directors that, as we do not want to send American troops to a great many areas where freedom may be under attack, we send you. It wasn't long before the CIA spotted an opportunity to extend its reach. In 1962, USAID launched its Office of Public Safety to send agents around the world under the guise of training police officers. But as it turned out, the trainers were busy teaching enhanced interrogation techniques, a euphemism for torture. The scandal broke out in 1966, and although the office was finally shut down in 1974, the dark practices persisted within military and intelligence circles. By 1980, USAID Administrator John Gilligan was candid enough to describe the agency as nothing more than a graduate school for the CIA. At one time, many aid field offices were infiltrated from top to bottom with CIA people, he said. It was pretty well known in the agency who they were and what they were up to. The idea was to plant operatives in every kind of activity we had overseas, government, volunteer, religious, every kind. USAID was quickly nicknamed the CIA's little sister. Oh, and here is John Bolton holding a trophy given to him by USAID in the shape of a hand grenade. Yeah, nothing to see here, folks. So let's talk about Zun Zaneo, shall we? Sit down. I love this story. Taken directly from Wikipedia.
Yeah. And if that's, but again, Shu, please talk. I guess she's kind of touching on, like, that's not why Elon and Trump want to remove USAID. Like, Shu, I'm talking to you directly. You know the wokeness angle is fake. Like, that is just not why they want to remove USAID. Elon is not actually sitting there like, oh my God, I can't believe that they're doing shit that's woke. Like, no, they see that it's doing shit that helps marginalized people. That's why they want to remove it. Not because of the woke veneer, that's the fake stuff, and not because it's an arm of imperialism or whatever the fuck. And I guess that's also what frustrates me about Shiwan Head's commentary. It's like, it's always like almost there. You know what I mean? But then she never really gets there and then pulls back. It's like political edging, which again, politics. Call me.
Wikipedia. Zunzaneo was an online social networking and microblogging service created by the United States Agency for International Development, aka USAID, and marketed to Cuban users. It was covertly developed as a long-term strategy to encourage Cuban youths to revolt against the nation's government. The developers aimed to use non-controversial content, such as sports and music, to build up subscribers and then to slowly introduce political messages through social bots to encourage dissent in an astroturfing initiative. So basically, USAID created a fake-ass social media platform in Cuba with our tax dollars, flooded it with bot content about like sports and music and whatever, just to make it seem normal, then slowly started to manipulate the users and create political division on the app between Cuban citizens in order to create political chaos in this country and a potential uprising.
Did she just say she loves this country? What about this country if you're a leftist, a socialist, you should not be saying you love this country, man. Like, I'm sorry. The potential, sure. Certain aspects, sure. But man, no. Like, no.
So yeah, how dare we take money away from those starving undercover agents? To make things even more sus, the money we spent on Zunzaneo was publicly documented as an unnamed project in Pakistan. Yes, this fake-ass social media psyop they created in Cuba was documented by our government as being a project in Pakistan. Now, think of all the other weird shit USAID was supposedly funding. Those sex changes in Guatemala. Were they really sex changes in Guatemala? Or were they some covert psyop being done somewhere else in the world? I guess we'll never know now. Using social media to divide the masses and create political division.
A lot. What she was talking about in terms of the more, illicit things that USAID and the United States government in general does is true. Again, there's a lot of evidence of genuine aid going to people who need it with USAID. Again, like, I get, like, making a horrific fake social media app in Cuba is terrible. But, like, I don't know. Oh, a lot of people got help that they needed, though. Like, I don't know. Again, I'm not saying it wasn't in need of reform. Doing what Trump and Elon have done to it was probably a net negative. I think I'll still stand by that. But again, leftists, socialists, all the criticisms you have for USAID, I'm with you there.
You don't think... No. They wouldn't do that. I mean, it's kind of weird they asked the former founder of Twitter to help with this project, but no. They would only do social media psyops in other countries, right? Right? In March 2024, a document was exposed that revealed USAID was running covert psyops all around the internet in order to combat populist misinformation about the government on Twitch, Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, and 4chan. Although its internal justification was halting the flow of mis- and disinformation, it seemed particularly concerned with malinformation, a concept it defines as speech that is factually correct but misleading, i.e., bothersome truths the US government would prefer the public does not know.
Look, I am not, like, a leftist or socialist who's a huge, like, China defender and stuff like that. Like, I will criticize, those many countries for doing things that, like this. But I like, liberals should be complaining about the US just as much as they complain about places like China, is my point, I guess. And I would say I do that. Like, I've for years have been saying, I think both should not be doing things like this. I think the left doesn't criticize, these socialist, communist countries for doing things like this enough. I think liberals don't criticize, countries like the US for doing this, whereas they will criticize countries like China for doing this. I find myself somewhere in the middle there, where I think I criticize both. Anyway, off topic.
USAID suggests directing the public toward mainstream corporate sources of information and psychologically inoculating them against inconvenient facts that challenge US power by pre-bunking information before people see it. Pre-bunking includes discrediting the brand, the credibility, and reputation of those making false allegations. In other words, a state-directed attack against alternative media and critics of the US government. So basically, USAID was funding a bunch of dorks to go all around social media and be like, source? Every time someone criticizes the government. This is somehow more pathetic than when I used to use an alt account to defend myself on BreadTube subreddits. That is basically what our government was doing. Also, I like how this implies the people you called a Fed online might have actually been a Fed. There is a chance that you may
100%. Didn't need this video to tell us that, right?
have fought with a federal agent, a USAID federal agent on Twitter or 4chan. This also implies that, like, streamers and social media influencers may have been funded by USAID. But who? Who among us? Who would be willing to unquestionably, enthusiastically suck establishment cock that hard?
Yeah, I definitely... I was going to say, yeah, I definitely am funded by the US government. This entity that I complain about for being horrific all the time, yeah, they're funding me.
For all the bad stuff America does around the world, USAID was just an organization that did a lot of nice things. Like, it put a lot of money into efforts to help people in a variety of ways, like both materially and culturally. It's just like a nice way for the United States to have a positive presence around the world.
For the record, I do not actually believe Destiny is being funded by USAID. I just thought that transition was funny. I fucking love that quote, though. USAID was just a nice organization that did a lot of nice things, like culturally help people around the world. Culturally help people? Why are we in the business of cultural imperialism? Why do we have to culturally enrich Latin America or the fucking Balkans? So not only are we the world police, but we are now the world HR department? No thank you. Why are we spending billions of dollars doing...
I guess this is one thing that I don't know. Like, I don't know how I feel. Like, if there's objectively bad shit going on from a cultural perspective, like, how do we prevent it? Like, LGBTQ plus people in Uganda being sentenced to life in prison. Like, how do we combat that? Should we combat that? My gut says we should. This is something I grapple with, and I don't fully understand myself. Like, Shion had put it, like, cultural imperialism. I don't know. I don't personally know. Ultimately, my stance is, I don't think cultural imperialism is the answer. I think using our money to build schools is the answer. I think morality and ethics do scale with intelligence. Intelligence scales approximately with education to some degree. Again, I say this and I get a million comments saying you're so elitist for thinking education is a good thing. I'm not saying the only good, smart people are people who are college educated. I am not saying that. I'm saying there is a relative correlation between things, good things happening. Education goes up, other good things go up too, in my opinion. So largely, my opinion to all of the world's problems is make education more accessible for more people. The more people are educated, the more people are smarter, the more people are moral, the more people are ethical, the better people are able to critical think. They're going to realize that there's no reason to send LGBTQ plus people in life for prison. Or I botched that, but you know what I mean. So cultural imperialism, probably not the path I would take, but I do think, to some degree, we are the richest country in the world. We're among the most developed. There is a correlation to countries being, quote unquote, underdeveloped, I guess, and things like LGBTQ plus persecution. Leftists will say a lot of this or all of this is tied to, money and class distinctions. And I think there is an element to that too, which is why I do advocate for also building infrastructure in those places. That will help as well. I don't know. Someone tell me if I'm off base.
Fuck-ass shit in other countries while ours crumbles. I don't care about teaching gender studies to Ugandans. The pothole in front of my house has...
That is not what it was doing, man. This is frustrating for me to hear. Like, one, even if that's what it was doing, I wouldn't care. Okay? I think I wouldn't care. Someone tell me why I'm wrong. But I wouldn't give a shit about that. But that's not what it was doing. We talked about what it was doing earlier. Did Shu not research this? Did Shu not know this? Did she read that and think it was specifically for handing out pamphlets on gender studies? That's frustrating. Now again, if Shu doesn't say, let's cut the US military budget by 90% to fix her fucking potholes before we touch what USAID was doing, at least in terms of the good stuff. Let's cut out the imperialism. Let's keep the good stuff, like providing shelter, HIV medication, and legal representation for people facing life imprisonment for being gay. Let's keep doing that. And also fix your potholes by cutting the United States military budget and taxing the rich and shit. Say that, Shu, before we talk about the couple $1 million that went to helping gay people in Uganda. This shit is frustrating. I don't know, maybe she could save it. Let's see. But not loving this line so far.
Hasn't been filled in 3 years. These are my taxes, and I believe my taxes should go to help people in my country. I don't think that's controversial to say.
Okay. Another place where we just completely disagree. And again, I'm curious to hear from like leftists and liberals and progressives on this. We're the richest country in the world. Like, again, we should use our taxpayer money to help Americans, but we're the richest fucking country in the world. We spend $1.5 trillion on our military. What if we spent that $1 trillion on like building infrastructure around the world? One, Shu, that would help us. Rising tide, lift all boats. Are you a socialist or not? And like, Shu, that taxpayer money that should go to helping only people in our country, we only have this money by fucking exploiting these people. You're complaining about US imperialism. Ugh.
And I know many conservatives agree with me. I'll always hear them say, we can't be spending money in Ukraine. We have to take care of our own. And then they just don't take care of their own because that's socialism or communism or something. Listen, do you actually want to take care of your own? Do you actually want your taxes to go towards helping the poor and sick and families in this country? Are you actually America first, or are you corpos and foreign countries first? I'm more than happy to work with you on good things to fix this country. But I don't think the establishment GOP is.
You don't want able-bodied workers on a program that is
And look, the reality is we can do both. We can help all Americans get to a good spot. Okay? We can do that. There will still be plenty of money left over that I think would be good to help other people build schools, build infrastructure. I think that would be a good thing too. Again, like the Belt and Road Initiative, which again, you know, we could talk about, but things like that I think are good. I think are good things for powerful, rich countries to spend their money on. I guess we just disagree, Shu, and again, like, from a leftist, socialist perspective, I don't think it's controversial for me to say. So hearing her go, like, U.S. taxpayer money in the most rich and powerful country in the world should only be used to help Americans, I don't know, very isolationist, very conservative line of thinking. Like, that is a straight up right-wing conservative line of thinking. I don't know how else to put it.
intended, for example, for single mothers with 2 small children who's just trying to make it. That's what Medicaid is for, not for 29-year-old males sitting on their couches playing video games. We're going to find those guys and we're going to send them back to work.
First of all, Medicaid is for anyone who needs it, period. And second of all, 29-year-old guys? You mean your f***ing voter base? You mean the very demographic that is shifting the entire country in your direction? Those guys? Yeah, we're just wasting so much money helping young men. Those greedy
Oh my god.
entire country.
Oh my fucking god. I want to be dead. Can I say that on YouTube? Holy fucking shit, man. Man.
In your direction? Those guys? Yeah, we're just wasting so much money helping young men. Those greedy gamers just gobbling up all the tax money. Not massive tax cuts to corporations and the rich. Not all the money to the bloated military-industrial complex. No. Gamers. Young men who can't find a job, can't afford a house, can't afford college. Young men who can't build a family because of the society you created. Those guys, they need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and pay for their own Medicare. This care isn't for them. It's for women. What? Great to know both sides of the establishment fucking hate young men. Anyway, sorry, I popped off. Let's get back on topic. Now, USAID did do some good things. I won't deny that. But even some of the good things that USAID did were nothing but a bunch of fronts. Using Cuba as an example again, because these are some of the only ones that have been exposed so far, there was a USAID program called the Travelers Project that was said to be an HIV prevention workshop. But yet again, it was nothing but another covert regime change psyop. This was exposed in 2014 by the Associated Press. Young Venezuelans and Peruvians were deployed by USAID to Cuba's college campuses for $5.41 an hour. Really, USAID? Billions of dollars force feminizing mice and you can't even pay your spies a living wage? Sad. Anyway, they were used to recruit college students into political organizations with the goal of turning them against their government. The goal of, once again, creating political division. In the exposed memos about this, USAID called their HIV workshop the, quote, perfect excuse. Right. But we're
Yeah. And again, bad. We should not be doing stuff like this. And again, not why Elon and Trump are cutting it, okay?
totally funding DEI in Vietnam for pure humanitarian reasons, I'm sure. This was done so sloppily that even our boy John Bolton came out and disavowed it, but not without saying he thought it was a good idea in principle. Yes, it's a great idea to create taxpayer-funded secret psyops all over the world in order to with other countries' politics. Just don't recruit teenagers to do it next time, okay? What? I honestly just think it's kind of funny we were funding anti-socialist agendas all around the world and disguising it as social progressivism. Don't think too hard about that one. Now, Cuba wasn't the only place USAID was culturally helping. On January 12, 2010, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake struck Haiti, killing 220,000 people, injuring another 300,000, and leaving 1.5 million more homeless. In the wake of the catastrophe, the United States provided $1.6 billion in reconstruction funding to Haiti, $651 million of which went to USAID. Rather than employing Haitian construction companies, USAID contracted out the rebuilding projects to international firms. For instance, Minnesota-based construction firm Thor was awarded $18 million in contracts, and Mexico-based firm Cemex received over $7 million. But by far the largest recipient of USAID funding in Haiti was Washington, D.C.-based contractor Comonix International, who received over $200 million to carry out a total of 141 projects. In fact, USAID awarded more money to Comonix than to the entire Haitian government in the wake of the earthquake. An audit conducted on Comonix revealed that the company had a tendency to not finish jobs, evaluated its own project on arbitrary criteria, not having to do anything with the project, and failed to set timelines.
Yeah, this is what I was getting at earlier when I was talking about how the government would, take the taxpayer funding, give it to private contractors who would then do it. Reason number 1 million, quintillion, quadrillion out of whatever the fuck, why the private sector is shitty and should have a fuck ton of oversight. Of course, they're going to try and pocket as much of it as possible. This is not a USAID specific issue. This is every government contractor. Of course, you contract to a private company, they're going to do everything in their power to pocket as much of it as possible, do as little as possible with it that they intended to do, that they claimed they were going to do. Of course they're going to do that. That's what the private sector fucking does. Again, this is not a USAID specific issue. This is a private sector specific issue.
Causing some projects to fall behind schedule. In one case, Comonix was contracted to build Haiti's new parliament building, but what they constructed came out half-finished and unusable. The company only built the framework of the building, not even erecting interior walls to divide office spaces, nor did they bother to furnish the building. Left with this, the Haitian government was forced to draw $775,000 from its public treasury to complete the project. Despite these disastrous results, Comonix to this day remains USAID's top contractor. The construction company was awarded $506.4 million in contracts in 2021 alone.
Again, it sounds like Shoe on Head is framing this, and again, a non-discerning viewer could hear this and go, oh my god, USAID really was this horrific thing. They're doing this with Comonix, blah, blah, blah. Dude, this is every private sector organization taking government money. This is why leftists and socialists advocate for nationalizing a fuck ton of shit. Because when you nationalize something, there's no profit incentive. The only incentive is to use the money allocated to actually do the thing. With the private sector, they are incentivized to do as little as possible and pocket as much of it as possible. Of course, that's what they're going to do. Always not a USAID specific issue. Okay? Please mention that Shoe. Based on the content of the rest of this video, I doubt she does. This is going to be framed like, oh my god, USAID, blah, 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 blah. This is the private sector problem, guys. Come on.
In a leaked email exposed by WikiLeaks, they described this tragedy as a gold rush, ensuring that it would be great for international companies. Seems like the only thing they are culturally helping is their own wallets, am I right? And you know how you always hear about how poor people are in Venezuela?
Yeah, fam. That's the private sector doing private sector shit. They're basically the only option. And yes, companies like that do have the infrastructure to do those things. That's why we contract to them. They have the infrastructure, but they also have the profit incentive to not actually do the thing, which is why as a leftist, as a socialist, we should nationalize a fuck ton of shit. Have a public option for a fuck ton of shit. Okay? At the very least.
And how the politicians are so rich and live in luxury. Yeah, part of that has to do with USAID. Billions of dollars of aid we sent to Venezuela just lined the pockets of US-backed politicians there. Only 2% of the aid we sent to Venezuela actually went to help Venezuelans. So at this point, the whole world was basically sick of USAID's bullshit. In 2013, Bolivian President Evo Morales expelled...
Alright, back to the anti-woke oracle. Did all of USAID money going to Venezuela go to politicians and only 2% went to the people? Let's see. No, not all USAID money went to Venezuela. For Venezuela went to politicians, and the claim that only 2% reached the people oversimplifies the situation. Here's a detailed breakdown on available information. Okay. Okay, in summary, while some USAID funds were misused or directed to opposition politicians, the majority supported humanitarian and development programs. The 2% figure refers to a specific 2019 incident and not the overall aid effort. Exact figures on aid reaching the people are hard to verify due to logistical and political complexities, but the impact of USAID's broader programs is significant, though not without flaws. The claim that only 2% of aid reached Venezuelans originates from a 2021 USAID Office of Inspector General report, which we were just talking about that earlier, weren't we? Which found that 368 metric tons of humanitarian supplies cost $2 million sent to the Colombia-Venezuela border in 2019. Only 8 metric tons, roughly 2%, were delivered inside Venezuela. The rest was redistributed in Colombia or sent to Somalia due to blockades by the Maduro regime and logistical failures. This specific incident does not represent the entirety of USAID's aid to Venezuela as broader programs deliver significant humanitarian assistance. So again, like, I want to run back what she said.
And how the politicians big gold rush, ensuring that it would be great for international companies. Seems like the only thing they are culturally helping is their own wallets, am I right? And you know how you always hear about how poor people are in Venezuela and how the politicians are so rich and live in luxury? Yeah, part of that has to do with USAID. Billions of dollars of aid we sent to Venezuela just lined the pockets of US-backed politicians there. Only 2% of the aid we sent to Venezuela actually went to help Venezuelans. So at this point, the whole world...
I mean... Like, okay, here's the truth, right? The report found that the Trump administration used U.S. foreign assistance to shore up support for Juan Guaido, an opposition figure who the U.S. recognized as the legitimate leader and interim president of Venezuela instead of Nicolas Maduro. Like, that's the problem. That is a legitimate problem. Like, using the aid to, like, here, you know, people of Venezuela, here's your assistance. It's signed by Juan Guaido. Maduro didn't give you assistance, so you should support Juan Guaido. Like, obviously not good intentions there. People got assistance, good. Intentions, bad. Shoe-on-Head's claim, not holding up to any scrutiny? Again, maybe I'm missing something. Correct the record in the comments, but, like, it looks as though what she just said was factually incorrect, and I can't believe I'm going out to bat for USAID, which, again, is well-deserving of a fuck ton of criticism. But if you're going to spend half an hour talking about it, at least get, you know, most of your facts right. But she was either blatantly wrong or misinterpreted, like, so much pretty important shit in this video. And there's only 4 minutes left. I don't know how she could save it at this point. Again, I guess I'm glad she's not just complaining about wokeness, though, again, she did complain about wokeness being spent, like USAID money being spent on wokeness, which was completely moronic to complain about. Positive, she is talking about it from a US imperialism perspective. She did bring up a lot of the legitimate things that we should criticize USAID over, but she got a lot of other pretty key shit blatantly wrong, which is just not a good look.
The world was basically sick of USAID's bullshit. In 2013, Bolivian President Evo Morales expelled USAID officials from his country on the grounds that the agency had conspired against his government by allegedly manipulating social movements in the country. He also charged that a previous USAID program that sought to help cocoa farms switch to new crops was politically motivated. Russia expelled the agency in 2012 for similar reasons. Its foreign ministry argued in a statement that USAID attempts to influence political processes through its grants. And in February, Kenyan Cabinet Secretary Francis Kimimya claimed that his government had evidence that USAID had hired activists to organize anti-government protests in Nairobi in an effort to topple the government. Oh, and if you're wondering why so many news outlets and journalists were freaking out over the potential shutting down of USAID, yeah, it's probably because it's where their paychecks were coming from. Yeah, apparently USAID was funding about 6,200 journalists and 707 news outlets.
Okay, back to the Oracle. Did USAID fund 6,000 plus journalists and 700 news outlets? Now, I have heard this. Like, I know this is partially true, but there is a lot of context to it that I'm too lazy to dig up, and quite frankly, this thing does an okay job at it, so I'm curious to see what it says here. Like, yeah, okay, here's the thing. A lot of these funds support operational costs, training, and equipment. I'm sure if we dug up some of this stuff, yes, some of it would be to spread propaganda that would help the U.S. Not all of it, though. I don't know. Again, this is, like, partially true that, yes, like, USA did fund journalists and assisted certain news outlets. Like, in a perfect world where we're a good faith actor, like the United States is a good faith actor, like, I want to support journalists. I think journalism is extremely important around the world, and there's a lot of places where journalism is, like, independent journalism is impossible, illegal. So making a good faith effort to support good faith journalists is something I would want to do personally. Is that something that U.S. government should do? I don't know. It's open. We can have that conversation, but to frame it in this way, like you should be outraged by this. I don't know. Something doesn't sit right with me, I guess.
All across the world. Not even just America. For example, the editor-in-chief of a Ukrainian news outlet wrote that destroying USAID was a greater threat to Ukrainian journalism than the Russian invasion. What? There were independent outlets shutting down everywhere, including Russia after the USAID freeze. So we were apparently funding media in both Ukraine and Russia.
What? Like, if we were supporting journalists in Russia, it was to... I would expect to fight the, horrific anti-journalist practices of the Russian government, supporting actual independent journalists who are not funded by the Russian government to be Russian government propaganda, dissenting voices. In Ukraine, we were probably funding journalists who would talk against Russia, and in Russia, we were probably funding journalists who would talk against Russia, not like playing both sides as Shu is trying to make it out to be here. And again, I'm really not necessarily defending this. I'm just saying the way Shu's framing it isn't even ultimately fully fleshed out, I guess.
I'm playing both sides so that I always come out on top.
Serbia, Moldova, all across Latin America,
Moldova.
Independent outlets shutting down everywhere. All because the little sister of the CIA can't pay no mo. So I have a question. Why the were we funding media in all these other countries? Well, the CEO for the Center of Investigative Reporting, a USAID-supported Bosnian media organization, said it best. Quote, if you are funded by the US government, there are certain topics that you would simply not go after because the US government has its interests that are above all else.
See, that's not good. I don't like that. I'll say I don't like that.
Oh, I guess that answers my question. USAID is also ridden with other scandals, such as covering up a child sex abuse ring in Kenya, kidnapping and torturing people in Uruguay, forced sterilizing 300,000 Peruvian women, and the famous one you all know, funding drug production in Afghanistan. Oopsie poopsies, we did little fucky wuckies. Now think about all the other shit that hasn't been exposed. These aren't mistakes, these aren't flukes, these aren't little fucky wuckies. This is what this program was set out to do. This is why it was created. We were quite literally funding Globo Homo as a sneaky way to do regime change and American intervention. Or do you think we're spending $1 million in Nepal to promote atheism because Hinduism is such a threat? You're cute. The United States won't sleep until there's an ugly progress flag hanging on Starbucks on every corner of every street all over the world from Latin America to the Middle East. Ah yes, the greatest American exports. Butt, sex, and war. There are a shit ton of old left-wing articles you can find online spanning back to like 2010, even earlier, about how evil USAID is. Now suddenly liberals are acting like it's another fucking beacon of democracy that we have to cry and piss and shit about just because it's Trump getting rid of it.
Again, I don't think that's why liberals are doing it. I think liberals do legitimately just think it was just good stuff happening that they're removing. And again, it's sort of in the middle where yes, lots of horrible shit done under the name of US imperialism, under the guise of good things happening. Some good things did happen, and that's why they're removing USAID, not for any of the reasons she was talking about. And that's what I was going to say, we're going to keep doing all of those things. Other government organizations do those things. We still have the CIA. They're just going to allocate the bad stuff elsewhere and not do any of the good stuff anywhere. And again, she was not talking about that at all. Again, if at all, she has barely framed it in the way I just described, which is, again, the Trump administration is not removing USAID because of what she's talking about, because it was used for imperialism. That's not why they're removing it. They're removing it for the 5% good stuff it actually did.
Frankly, I don't care. If they start dismantling things that I do care about, things that do actually help the American people, then I will care. Expose where the trillions of dollars we spent on the Iraq war went next, please. Or, actually release the Epstein files. Do I think Doge cut USAID because they're our great comrade in arms, cutting off the tentacles of American imperialism? No. Trump probably just cut it because he thought it was a woke, gay waste of money, and it was. But as far as I'm concerned, It
wasn't a woke, gay waste of money. It was an arm of US imperialism, sure. But her anti-woke statements on this are wrong. It wasn't handing out pamphlets to Ugandans about why gay sex is great. It was actually to help some of these people, which I think isn't a bad thing to do, personally. Again, someone tell me why I'm wrong. I'm curious to hear other perspectives on this. If you heard that, like, if you're watching this, you watched some of my video, you watched at least one of my videos, two of my videos. Shu's at least watched parts of at least two of my videos. I know this for a fact. If you're watching this, Shu, and you know that it's now not handing out pamphlets to Ugandans about why gay sex is great, and it's providing legal representation, providing shelters, providing HIV medication to marginalized people facing persecution, life imprisonment for being gay, is that a good thing to provide those marginalized people? Or should we not help them? Assuming that's what was happening. Again, all the imperialism stuff, I'm with you. Bad. We shouldn't do those things. The good things that it was doing, like, would you at least concede that it wasn't just woke nonsense? I don't know.
Every article written about how bad dismantling it was written by John Bolton himself. Like the president of Colombia said, take your money with you. It's poison. All the sources I use in this video and all the information I got for this video will be in links down below. Feel free to do your own research as always. And if you like this video, please consider...
I did, and you were like 50%. I'll be generous and give you 60%, okay? Because of how virulently you're willing to criticize American imperialism, I'll give you a passing grade, right? D's get degrees. I'll give you a D-. But man, a lot off, a lot wrong.
Consider subscribing. A lot of you aren't subscribed, apparently. You just watch and f*** off. I will find you. Also,
what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this? Nah, not going to do it.
this video is most likely going to be demonetized, so if you can and if you want to, please donate to me on Patreon, link down below. It helps the channel so much, and I appreciate it. And I will see you next time with a less serious, more fun video.
I think I've said everything I needed to say here. Again, I said a lot of stuff that may sound like convictions. I am learning a lot still, okay, people? There's a lot of things that I thought I understood, that I believed when I started this project, that my opinion has changed on. So I'm nowadays a lot less willing to take, again, convictions on things and be more open to saying, maybe I don't know everything about this topic, enough about this topic to have a firm conviction. I have a lot of opinions on things. Convictions is another thing. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comments on some of the stuff I've been talking about. I'm very curious. I read every comment. Even if I don't reply, I do read them all. Either way, I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.